Can we start, Professor Vijay?
Of course, go ahead, please.
Okay, Mudrika, start.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Mudrika, faculty in the Department of Material Science and Metallurgical Engineering, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all on this virtual platform, as well as those who have joined us on the YouTube, to this celebration of 13th Foundation Day of IIT Hyderabad. On this day, we celebrate the success and laurels backed by IIT Hyderabad and embark further on the journey for brighter future. As a symbol of appreciation for all the hard work put in by IITH fraternity, we will also witness awards for academic, research, and administrative excellence today. We are very privileged to have with us Professor K. Vijay Raghavan, Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India. Sir, we are very grateful that you could spare time from your busy schedule, particularly in the difficult times that the world is witnessing, to be here with us and encourage us. Today's ceremony is presided over by Dr. B.V.R. Mohan Reddy, Chairman, Board of Governors, IIT Hyderabad. We welcome you, sir. Without much delay, I request our Director, Professor B.S. Murthy, to deliver the welcome address and set the momentum of the day. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to all of you for this momentous occasion of the 13th Foundation Day of IIT Hyderabad. First and foremost, I would like to thank our Chief Guest, Professor Vijay Raghavan, Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India, for gracing this occasion despite his busy schedule. I also welcome our well-wisher, mentor, Dr. Mohan Reddy Garu, our BOG Chairman, for presiding over this particular function. I welcome all the BOG members, faculty, staff, students of IIT Hyderabad, and others who are witnessing this historic event in a virtual mode. We have struggled with COVID-19 for more than a year now. One thing that this pandemic has taught all of us is not to stop and wait for a better day, but to continue to grow despite the stumbling blocks. We have brought many of our students back into campus over the last 10 months and are ensuring their well-being and good health so that they can focus on their academics and research. We are planning to bring the rest of the students in the next 2 months so that we can start the next semester from August 16th in a regular fashion. This year has been an amazing year for IIT Hyderabad, being in the top 10 NIRF rankings among engineering institutions for the 5th consecutive year and entering for the first time into the top 600 in the QS World Rankings are not small achievements for an institution which is just 12 years old. This is not just, these are not just numbers, but a reflection of the strong academic and research foundation laid by our faculty, which is being nurtured and improved year after year by our faculty and students. In the last 1 year, we have started leaping forward with several initiatives and to bring us close to industry, such as a semester-long internship for our BTech students, industry lectures as mandatory course for our MTechs, industry-defined MTech problems, industry-oriented MTech programs, and several online MTech programs. Focusing on the healthcare, we started 2 BTech programs, one in biomedical engineering and another in bioinformatics, and an MTech in medical device innovation. With the interest to encourage interdisciplinary academics and research, we started Center for Interdisciplinary Programs and initiated several ID MTech programs, ID PhD, and ID research projects. With inventing and innovating in technology for humanity as our motto, a large space for incubation and innovation cell and research park with about 1.5 lakh square foot each is being created within the next 6 months. A department for entrepreneurship and management has been established to strengthen entrepreneurship ecosystem at IIT Hyderabad, and a dual degree MTech in techno entrepreneurship is being started this year. A rural development center has been started to take the technological initiatives of IIT Hyderabad to villages. A center for continuing education has been established to upskill the needy to be job ready in both rural and urban sectors. To contribute significantly towards dream of Atmanirbhar Bharat, we established DRDO IITH Research Cell at IIT Hyderabad. IIT Hyderabad has been very active in various research areas such as healthcare, future communications, autonomous navigation, AI applications, energy, additive manufacturing, fabless chip design, sensors and devices, climate change, to name a few. I have come to know that it was our chief guest of today who suggested IIT Hyderabad to take initiative in the field of climate change. And 2 years back, sir, I'm happy to share with you that we started a department of climate change at IIT Hyderabad, which is doing excellent research with almost 25 faculty from various departments contributing to it. We would be grateful if PSA office can help us to set up a center of excellence in this field at IIT Hyderabad. Our international outreach also has grown significantly in the last 1 year. Overseas students to study at IIT Hyderabad, we have recently initiated a new PhD fellowship for foreign passport holders. We also initiated special joint degree doctoral programs with Swinburne and Deakin University. I hope that in 2021, we will be able to set higher benchmarks to excel in academics, research, and technological development and achieve them with perseverance. I would like to also congratulate all the students, faculty, and staff who will be receiving various Foundation Day awards today. I wish you all a wonderful year ahead and stay safe, stay healthy. Faculty and staff who will be receiving various Foundation Day awards today. I wish you all a wonderful year ahead and stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you,
Mudrika,
sir.
over to you.
Thank you, sir. I now request our Chairman, Board of Governors, Dr. B.V.R. Mohan Reddy, to please deliver the presidential address. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear student friends. Let me also add my warm welcome to our esteemed chief guest, Professor Vijay Raghavan, the Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India, who is addressing us today on climate change, biodiversity loss, and future of engineering. Let me use this opportunity to briefly update Professor Vijay Raghavan and also the August audience on the work being carried out at IIT Hyderabad under Professor B.S. Murthy's leadership. I'll try not to repeat what Professor Murthy said so far, since he was a speaker earlier to me. Though IIT Hyderabad is a fairly young institution, it's a second generation institution, as Professor Vijay Raghavan is fully aware, it still makes it to the top 10 amongst the technical institutions in the country for the last 3 years, and is best amongst the second generation IITs. More interestingly, sir, IIT Hyderabad has improved significantly in the QS rankings in the last 4 years, from a number which used to be 1,300 plus. We're now down to the top 600 and plus research scholars. IIT Hyderabad improved its QS rankings. We're now in the top 46% globally. That is certainly an amazing achievement and contribution from the director, the faculty, and the rest of the support staff. Let me share a few more thoughts. The very foundation of IIT Hyderabad is based on research and innovation. The vibrant research culture is evident from a number of patents and publications that IIT Hyderabad has. IIT Hyderabad has a very progressive culture to offer courses in areas posing challenges and providing opportunities. Professor B.S. Murthy just now mentioned, I'd like to again especially call out, because it's very relevant for your talk today, that's being started in climate change academic year. As all of you are aware, climate change is one of the few subjects that cuts across many research disciplines as well as many sectors of the society. We have ensured we put together the right courses with the brief that the enhanced knowledge through this program will lead to technological innovations and business opportunities. To also keep pace with learning and engineering, from the academic year 2014, all our BTech programs started, that's about 7 years now, started offering courses that are smaller credits called the Fractal Academics, very carefully designed to keep the enthusiasm of the students and to keep them in pace with the state of art from the first semester all the way to the 8th semester. The Fractal Academics with interdisciplinary approach, flipped classes, and many more steps that have been taken by IIT Hyderabad addresses the changes that we are seeing in education, and more so in future of engineering education. IIT Hyderabad also keeps a very close interaction with industry. A number of research consultancy projects are already underway at various stages of discussion, and they're also implemented. Our relationship from IIT Hyderabad reached another milestone yesterday, a double delight for me, for my company signed and owned the first chair in IIT Hyderabad in future of communications. We are seeing speeding up of digital adoption in several areas. Digital transformation will determine the future growth of nations. Communications is the key for transformation. And this initiative between IIT Hyderabad and SIND, we believe, will go a long way to address the future of communications. For the August audience, I just like to reinforce that Professor Vijay Raghavan is the best known authority on the 3 topics he will be addressing us today. And we are keenly looking forward to hear him. As a scientist initially, then as leader for scientific community, and now as a policy maker and administrator, he made tremendous amount of contribution to the scientific community in India and abroad. I'd like to thank him for taking off time to speak to us this afternoon. Let me conclude on a positive note. The world weathered Great Depression with industrialization. This time, the current crisis, which we believe is stronger, but we will come out victorious with technology muzzling its way. Welcome again, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for really presenting the context. And it is, of course, my very pleasure to introduce our chief guest. But still, let me give it a Vijay Raghavan. Of Prime Minister's Science, Technology and Innovation Advisory Council. He was Secretary, Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. He, the Principal Scientific Advisor, works in all arms of the government with our states, our citizen, nation, international agencies. The goal is that the benefit of science, technology and innovation solutions reach the most needy for the sustainable development of India and for the well-being of our planet. Professor Raghavan is also a distinguished professor at the National Center for Biological Sciences, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Bangalore, and was the director of NCBS till 2013. He studied chemical engineering at IIT Kanpur, holds a PhD in molecular biology from TIFR, and he was also the senior research fellow at California Institute of Technology. His research is on nerves and muscles and how complex behavior emerges during animal development. Professor Raghavan is a fellow of the Indian Science Academies, the Royal Society, the Academy of Medical Sciences UK, Foreign Associate of the US National Academy of Sciences, and of course, for his all the contributions as the scientist, as the leader, as he was also awarded Padma Shri by the government in 2013. We can never have a better person than you to talk to IIT community, and it's indeed a pleasure for IIT Hyderabad to have you on its own 13th Foundation Day, sir. Over to you, sir. We look forward to hear from your experience, your journey, and undergo the journey of enlightenment with you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mudrika, and thank you very much, Chairman of the Board, Dr. Murthy, and IIT Hyderabad Director, Dr. Murthy. This is a great honor for us all, great pleasure for us all to celebrate IIT Hyderabad's successes and its foundation day. And it's a great honor for me to be here today. This is, of course, we're going through very, very difficult times. And as your director said, and the chairman of the board said, it's all the more reason for us to take the situation in hand and determinedly come out of it. Adversity should bring out, even though it's very difficult, the best in us. In that context, let me try and tell you how one can imagine our future and how it is likely to look like. If you had asked what our future will be in December 2019, which is actually when I had prepared many aspects of this talk, about how climate change, biodiversity, and so on will affect our work. It turns out that except for actually predicting the consequences of the pandemic, we knew a lot then about what is happening now. In other words, the pandemic was a consequence of the way humans have been interacting with our biodiversity for a long time. There have been pandemics over our history, but the nature and frequency of them is likely to change because of the nature of our interactions. So let us look then at what many people say our future is. And this is, we're on planet Earth, spaceship Earth, as it were. And what is our vision of our human future, let's say in 2050? And many people looking at what is around us paint a bleak vision of human future. This is a picture, by the way, taken at the Giant Meter Wave Radio Telescope, looking into the skies and in some ways looking into the future. Now, to understand our future, we must have some idea of where we came from and therefore know our past. And particularly know our past as humans, because as humans, we have changed not only the way we understand the universe, that has changed through our history, but also we have changed the planet entirely. Now, where we came from as a species, as animals, was best stated by Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace, shown on the right. And Darwin and Wallace independently proposed a theory of evolution by natural selection. And basically, what that means is that all life on Earth, as far as we know, has a common origin. There was a common early life form. And chance and selection has changed living matter in a manner where we see all these forms most beautiful and varied. And this has occurred over hundreds of millions of years, billions of years. And what connects all life forms is a shared chemistry because of its common origins. And that shared chemistry is linked by the thread of DNA. In other words, our shared genetic material with all life on the planet is the foundation for this shared chemistry, and the variation in that genetic material allows different forms to emerge. Now, what has happened now in late 2019, early 2020 is what is called a spillover. Viruses, which were comfortable and at home in bats, for example, which didn't show infection because of a variety of reasons, spilled over to human. Normally, such spillover is, a one-off event, but sometimes that can result in human-to-human transmission. And the reasons and the nature of that spillover is a matter, as you all know, of intense debate right now. In that situation, in the context of what is happening now, we should look at our future at 2050 and ask, what will science do for the people, and what will people do for science? So this is our planet, and it was formed about 4.5 billion years or so, a little more than that. And life started a billion years after it was formed. And as I said, all life is connected with each other. Now, let us look at what a status report would look like in 2050. And there are four main areas which we need to concentrate on. One is us as humans. What will we be doing? What will be our climate on this planet? What will be our biodiversity? And what will be our environment? Most economists, most people who deal with the future, politicians, economists, philosophers, will look at the first point and not pay so much attention to the rest of them. But what has happened now is increasingly all these points, the second, third, and fourth, have started getting intense attention, and more so at the time of this pandemic. And more people realize that all four are intricately intertwined. If you go to one of the big four, companies which analyze how things are and how they will be, they will look at 2050 in a very different way from which scientists will look at. They will look at it from an economist perspective, and they will say the world economy will have such a future. There will be shifts in global economic power. There will be new drivers of global economic growth. There will be new policy implications of that, and there will be new business implications. This is their focus. But if you look at it from other points of view, which I illustrated, we will see many trends which these earlier kinds of studies don't focus on. One is rising global temperatures. If you look at yellow as rising temperatures and blue as lowering temperatures and red as higher temperatures, more than yellow, you can see how much of our land mass is going to be much warmer and how much of our sea mass is also going to get warmer. These are very, very dangerous trends, which all of you know about. And for example, through that, if you look at greenhouse gas emissions, you can see from red to green the range of possibilities. The y-axis is CO2 equivalent in ppms, and you can see what an extraordinary range they go through. And even if we have all mitigating measures and have a representative concentration pathway which is very low at 2.5 times, you can see how it's going to be very tough going ahead. So we have a lot to do over here. Similarly, global sea level rise, our history and projections show that by 2050 we're going to start seeing extraordinary rises unless we have major mitigating measures. And even with those major mitigating measures, you're going to see 0.3 meters to 1.2 meter rise in sea level. If you look at biodiversity again, in different areas, look at farmer land use, if you look at infrastructure, the amount of land for infrastructure, the consequences of land loss to climate change, forestry, pasture, bioenergy, food crop, and so on. You can see that, particularly in the BRICS countries, you're going to start seeing a substantial loss of biodiversity and a substantial, increase in land for food crops. And this is going to cause, again, intense changes in the way we function. Now, this situation of increasing temperatures and loss of biodiversity is going to change life as we know it because of dramatic changes in our poles, the North Pole and the South Pole, and also, in what is called the third pole, which is the Himalayas. This is a photograph I took flying nearby in November 2016. And you're going to now start seeing less and less ice on the Himalayas, in the North Pole and the South Pole. And all of this is going to start, changing the way for example, specifically with the Himalayas, how the Brahmaputra, the Ganga, and its floodplains all are. In terms of the North and South Poles, is going to change global weather and ocean currents substantially. So these are all not just doomsday scenarios, but they are already upon us in interesting ways. Now, historians who've been looking at the future, and there are many famous ones over history, Malthus, Paul Ehrlich, the Club of Rome, the IPCC, they all point to the world as constantly being on the verge of disaster. And this they've been saying for decades. And more positive economists have constantly pointed out how this has never happened. Human ingenuity has always allowed us to succeed. Yet, it looks now that we have reached a certain tipping point in the way we are functioning, and it's not simply a battle of finding ingenious ways to win over what is happening, but there are limits to what that is possible because we've wrought rather big global changes. Hans Rosling, the last in this list, is much more positive. He died a few years ago, though, sadly. And Rosling points out that with economic prosperity, many of the kinds of problems we said are likely to start coming down. So his is a more positive view, but all the others take a much more stressful view of our future. Now, how did we come across to the situation? And there's something very important to remember. We, like other animals, we're trying to survive on this planet by, fighting against those, predators who are preying on us. And this is something all life on Earth did. But because of certain extraordinary changes which evolution made in us, our ability to oppose thumb and forefinger, our ability to speak, our ability to communicate through speech, and our large brain size disproportionate to our body gave us cultural capabilities disproportionate to our biological capabilities, and therefore we were able to circumvent the limitations of natural selection and start changing the world in extraordinary ways. When we started domesticating plants and animals, we started using fertilizers, guano, bird shit, to fertilize fields, and then nitrite from mines from South America and China. This is what the West did. When the West started running out of such fertilizers, chemistry had also started growing, and the ability to take nitrogen from the atmosphere through the Haber-Bosch process and convert that to ammonia and then to fertilizers, and sadly also to chemical weapons, changed the course of human history. So these kinds of interventions allowed us to not be limited by availability of food because we could renew soil. And there are many other ways which we started growing and taming nature, as it were. So these kinds of events were thought to be the dawn of the Anthropocene, where human impact is indelibly put on the earth. And this is a photograph of the Trinity event in July 16th, 1945 at New Mexico, when the atom bomb was first exploded, and the imprint of that is there on Earth forevermore. Many people say this is the start of the Anthropocene. The others say that the domestication of plants and animals 10,000 years ago is the start of the Anthropocene. Yet others say the start of the Anthropocene is the time we started eating chicken on large scale, because chicken bones outnumber in huge volume all other kinds of masses which we leave behind, and that will be there for all time. So our ability to change the earth, engineer things around us is extraordinary. And it's also come with an extraordinary ability to understand nature's own engineering. We've understood biology, evolution, as I mentioned, genetics, development, and this thread of DNA which connects everything has also been reasonably understood, though enormous mysteries remain. Now, given this ability to jump across our biological limitations through language and our engineering capabilities, what is it that the future looks like? Now, through our industrial revolutions, what we have done is to use this ingenuity to harness natural resources, markets, and other kinds of resources, such as getting energy from a variety of sources, fossil fuels, and so on, to become, particularly in the West, starting from the first industrial revolution, economic powers. Now, many of you know thermodynamics. If you want to lower entropy in a location, you can do that only by increasing entropy elsewhere. And so the great richness and order which came about in big economies resulted in a devastation of nature, other economies, and the world in general. And today we are going to a place where we want to be able to grow in a sustainable manner and yet not devastate the rest of the world. We cannot anymore grow by exploiting anyone else or exploiting natural resources. And that's exemplified by what a famous economist, Sir Partha Dasgupta, has said. He says, for example, the chainsaw is an extraordinary invention, yet it causes great devastation on the economy. The fishing trawler is an extraordinary invention. It causes devastation in the economy, in the environment, while it gets livelihood and food everywhere. So this ability to invent and create technologies which are extraordinarily powerful and changes economies now, but creates environmental costs which the future has to pay, has been a characteristic since the first industrial revolution and indeed before. Today's world, we need to factor in the costs, says Partha Dasgupta, of the future and pay for it now. We cannot hedge the future by asking future generations to pay for it. That will make our livelihood, our costs of living today more expensive. Are we prepared for that? We can no longer go on at betting on the future and passing on responsibility to future generations. And that is pretty much the big challenge we have. What are the consequences of climate change? We are in a pandemic now where we constantly talk and assume that somehow so-called esoteric animals, such as the bat, which harbor viruses, and when they are in close proximity with humans, can result in spillover. But with climate change, increasing temperatures, these kinds of dangers are all around us. There are enormously large garbage dumps, which can also be places for zoonotic spills. There are enormously well cleaned out spaces, such as in Long Island, where intermediary hosts of tick-borne diseases, such as deer and other animals, are no longer there. And therefore, these tick-borne diseases jump directly to humans. So, strangely, cleaning up places and having fantastic lawns can cause tick-borne diseases like Lyme disease to spread, or other diseases also. And not cleaning up spaces like having garbage dumps can also cause diseases to spread. So there is no simplistic view of what can prevent spread. And the important point is research, science, and surveillance is very important. Now, this picture on the screen is that of a saiga antelope in Kazakhstan. This antelope lives under very, very hardy conditions. And even in normal times, many of its offspring die. But a few years ago, a very large number of offspring suddenly died one summer. And only a couple of years ago, people figured out why that happened. In the nasal passages of this animal are commensal bacteria, which causes no harm to the animal at all. But one summer, an increase in temperature of 1.5 degrees changed these commensal bacteria to invasive ones and caused sepsis, and thousands of these animals died almost in an instant. So you can see how new kinds of pandemics can arise. There are no shortage of microbiomes in our gut, in our nasal passages, and elsewhere, where their properties can change rather dramatically and very suddenly. All of this points out that there is no longer an ability for us to build high-rise buildings or hide from ocean waves or build earthquake-resistant places. All of that is not going to be enough. We really need to restore our interaction with the environment in a sensible way going forward. Just as you have changes in commensal bacteria, you have changes in the way plants survive and live because of changes in temperature. Plants which used to grow in low temperature now suddenly have to learn how to grow in higher temperature. Their properties change dramatically. Plants which are leading very commensal lives with other plants suddenly become invasive. How do you deal with that? So these are again kinds of situations we have to come across. So insect ranges, the ranges through which insect go, they have changed dramatically, and they have been hit by climate change. And percentage of species, insect species, which are important pollinators, have also changed dramatically. Insect abundance has also fallen in the last 27 years, and of course, insect diversity. And this is a major area of research, try to see what we can do about this. And when we reforest, we often reforest with species which are not, when you have afforestation, you have afforestation with species which are not really native, and that causes other kinds of changes. In our attempt to mitigate carbon dioxide emissions, we often cause other biodiversity problems. So this brings me to the last part of my talk about the brain and machine. What should our new areas of scientific explorations focus in this situation? And I'll go through this quickly and then end. There are 4 kinds of areas of research. Those which are called known knowns and things we are aware of and understand. There are others which are unknown knowns, things we understand but are not aware of. Then there are known unknowns, things we are aware of but don't understand. And finally, there are unknown unknowns we are neither aware or understand. This seems a bit confusing, but this is a famous Rumsfeld quadrilateral, but I'll go through this one by one. Now, first of all, let's look at known knowns. We know, as I said, the challenges in climate, environment, biodiversity, health, energy, and what we need to do. And as a research institution, these are areas which we must focus on, whether you're civil engineers or astronomers or anything in between. Next, we go to the areas of unknown knowns. And these are things which we understand, but we're not aware of. And these are, the deep ocean, which potentially we can understand what it is or what's happening. Again, outer space. There are many things we know from astronomy, but we really haven't explored this in great detail. New ideas will come. And going down microscopically, the microcosmos. So there are many areas which we know exist, and we really need to understand them a lot better. And these are, again, very interesting areas of exploration. The Deep Ocean Mission, which has just been announced, is another area where IIT Hyderabad can participate, right from making submersibles, sensors, and looking at diversity, mining, and so on and so forth. Next, we go to what I would call the known unknowns. There are many things we just don't understand, for example, about the brain. We're just touching the tip of our understanding. We know little about the origin of life. We know that we know little. That's a question to be answered. And we know very little about many kinds of areas in mathematics and engineering and so on and so forth. And the Navier-Stokes equation solution is one example. And finally, we go to unknown unknowns. Now, that's something we really don't know anything about. There's no point even talking about it. We don't know what is it that we don't know, which is completely unknown. But we can look back in history and ask, how did humanity deal with situations where unknown unknowns came about, right? One example of an unknown unknown before humans came about, long before humans came about, is 65 million years ago, an asteroid hit the Earth and eliminated dinosaurs. Of course, animals, were not sentient animals, and they didn't know about this asteroid. But just imagine that there were sentient beings there. They wouldn't have known what asteroids are, and it would have just taken them completely by surprise. Are there such things happening? Did those who were owners of horse-drawn carriages, do they know that an unknown like a motor car was coming to hit them? So we can think of many such examples from history. New things will come. And the only way we can deal with unknowns is actually quite simple. Have better and wider and deeper education system. That will prepare us to deal with unknowns. By and large, unknowns will be extrapolations of what we know already, and will be consistent, of course, with the laws of physics, we hope. And therefore, we will have innovative abilities to deal with them. And therefore, a large-scale education, research, and training program is very, very important. That is why we need a connection between India and Bharat. Right now, 90% of our research funds go to institutions where 10% of our students go. 90% of our students go to colleges and state universities where only 10% of our research funds go. This needs to change enormously, and the forthcoming National Research Foundation, collaborating with our various ministries, hopes to change that. The related point is about women. If you look at leadership positions, I remember a photograph of the directors of the IITs with a visitor, the President of India, and the directors of the central universities. There were about 70, 80 odd people there, and there was one woman, the finance controller and the education ministry. This is an untenable situation. Women have to be in leadership positions. If we can have, no shortage of ordinary men in leadership positions, I'm sure we have no problem in getting women ordinary and extraordinary in leadership positions. This has to be consciously changed by institutions, ensuring that women are in leadership positions in departmental activities, committees, heads of department, deans, and so on, so that this situation starts changing. This is, of course, true not only in our higher institutions, but everywhere else. That brings, not only a correct balance, but it also allows for a range of viewpoints to come in decision making. So there is an increasing asymmetry in the world today, and I'll end with this slide, between the ownership of knowledge and power. And this has been a characteristic through human history. Those who have knowledge have power. But in today's world, because of the acquisition and use of big data in enormous ways, there is an extraordinary effect of knowledge on power, which is asymmetric. Machines will be able to tell you what is good for you in every step of your life. And unfortunately, they will be able to give you good advice. Where does that put you and your free will? This situation, as fewer and fewer people have this power, and more people are recipients of the consequence of this power, this situation needs to change. And that can come only through large-scale education and training in the ability not only to have expertise in specific domains, but in the ability to handle data, analyze. So we must have a distributed system of both technology and understanding in our ecosystem, so everyone has both the tools and ability to use data and take decisions and not just be the recipient of them. When we do that, we will have information which can help us understand the world, and when we can have information which will help us change the world by attending to important matters of climate change, biodiversity, and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor
Thank
Vijay.
you so much, sir. There have been there are so many points you have enlightened us with, and I think one very key takeaway that we all can perhaps remember is the equitable distribution of resources, funds, and try to bring as much as equality, and very importantly, emphasis on right education so that we are prepared for future. Of course, there are so many more points, but just thought of putting these points forward as we go on. Thank you, sir, for that. Now I invite Dean Academic, Professor Saptarshi Majumdar, to announce the awards for academic and research excellence for the students.
Thank you, Madriga. This is Saptarshi. I'm pleased to announce the award of academic excellence for the students, and this is mostly for UG, PG, and PhDs. For UG and PG, mostly it is their performance through their class performance and the course performance, and for PhD it is their research performance. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, Ishwas for AI from AI department, Samar from biomedical department, Swatik from Civil Engineering Department. These are all BTech past year 2020 batch. Next slide. Continuing with BTech past year 2020 batch. Pranav from Chemical Engineering and Vikshat from Computer Science from Electrical Engineering. Next slide, please. Continuing with BTech 2020 batch first year. Engineering Physics, Raghav. Engineering Science, Ayush, and Math and Computing, BTech programs, Ojas. Next slide, please. Yeah, first year, continuing with BTech first year, 2020 batch. Anirudh from Mechanical Engineering and Shashank from Material Science and Metallurgical Engineering. Next slide, please. Coming to the BTech second year, 2019 batch, from AI Department, Artificial Intelligence, Agraj. Then from Civil Engineering, Shashank, and Chemical Engineering, Pradna. Next slide, please. Continuing with BTech 2019 batch second year, Computer Science, Nandita, Electrical Engineering, Manshi, and Engineering Physics, Avinav. Next slide, please. BTech 2019 batch second year continuing, Engineering Science, Sravanti, Math and Computing, Jilugu, and Mechanical Engineering, Washin. Next slide, please. BTech 2019 batch second year continuing, Material Science and Engineering, Shreya. Next slide, please. Now we are BTech 2018 batch third year, from Civil Engineering, Vedasri, from Chemical Engineering, Virushank, from Computer Science, Shah Nishar Pankaj. Next slide, please. Yeah. So Kodiala from Electrical Engineering, Pradunma from Engineering Physics, and Vinta from Engineering Science. Next slide. Anurag from Math and Computing, Abhishek from Mechanical Engineering, and Material Science and Metallurgical Engineering, Hanumantu Sri Lekha. Next slide, please. So BTech 2017 batch, fourth year. Nalagundla Manoj Kumar from Civil Engineering, Ahmed from Chemical Engineering, Shivashis from Computer Science. Next slide. From the same batch, BTech 2017, fourth year, from Electrical Department, it's Karthik, from Engineering Physics Department, Aditya Patel, from Engineering Science Department, Vignesh. Next slide. Continuing with the same BTech 2017, fourth year batch, Math and Computing, Srujana, Mechanical Engineering, Anumula, and Material Science and Metallurgical Engineering, Padigam Pavan Kalyan. Next slide, please. Now we are on the slide of Bachelor of Design, BDes, from our Design Department, 2020 first year batch. So it's Shreyas Rajnish Vyas. Next slide, please. The second year of the BDes program is Ambati Ravi. Next slide, please. Now we are on MSc 2020 batch, first year, from Chemistry, Tapu Rayan Ghazi, in Mathematics Department, Amrit Kumar, and Physics Department, Prasanta Das. Next slide, please. Now we are on MSc 2019 batch, second year, Chemistry, P. Sai Rachana, from Mathematics, Atanu Manna, from Physics, Riktim Bhome. Next slide, please. Now we are on MTech 2020 January batch through RA Research Assistancy, and 2020 July batch for Teaching Assistant, 2 years, first year people. We have lots of interdisciplinary programs here in masters. So They will be also appearing this year for the first time. Additive manufacturing, Manohar. From artificial intelligence, Sri Harsha. From biomedical department, Abhishek Dash. Next slide. From biotechnology department, Somia. From chemical engineering department, Arjun Manoj. From civil engineering, Juguru Kaviyasri. Next slide. From climate change, Lakshmi Sravani. From computer science, Saran. From computer science, Sumitra. Next slide. From electrical engineering, Kushuma Priya. From energy technology, Sandeep. From e-waste management, Rishabh Rath. Next slide. From integrated sensor systems, MTech program, Bipul. From material science and metallurgical engineering, Syamala Aditya Kumar Reddy. From mechanical engineering, Nikhil Kant Gautam. Next slide. From polymer and biosystems, Avnika Pant. From smart mobility, Avinav Anand. Next slide, please. Now, MTech RA and MTech TA for the second year. From AI, Pranav. From biomedical, Hiralal. From biotechnology, Shruta Chandis. Next slide. From biotechnology, Bhuvana. From chemical engineering, Anu. From chemical engineering, Ravali. Next slide. From civil engineering, Yamini. From climate change, Shreyas Gupta. From computer science, Bipul Agarwal. Next slide. From computer science, Nikita. Computer science again, Kambare Naveen Kumar. Computer science again, Indra Karan Reddy. From electrical engineering, Bala Priya. From material science and metallurgical engineering, Ajay Raj. From mechanical engineering, Thania Asant, sorry. From liberal arts department, Pranita. From liberal arts department, George Chaco. Next slide, please. So we are now on the slide of Masters of Design 2020 batch first year, and then 2019 batch second year. So from both the same department, first year is Siddharth, and the second year is Bonzar M. Next slide. Now we are having Research Excellence Awards for the scholars based on their scholarly performance in publishing in journals, and they are nominated from their departments. Please go to the next slide. PhD scholars from AI department, Namapalli Tejasri. From biomedical department, Sunil Kumar Yadava. From biomedical, Tejashwini. Next slide. From biotechnology, Nima Kumari. From biotechnology, Satya Silan. From chemical engineering, Srinivas Romitri. Next slide, please. From chemical engineering, Ravi Kiran. From chemistry, Dilip Nagireddy. From chemistry, Aritri Biswas. Next slide. From civil engineering, Patan Kirti. From civil engineering, Vinayak Devendra. From computer science engineering, Sriram. From computer science engineering, Nazil Parveen. From design department, from Sumona Som. From design department, Indranil Saha. From electrical department, Shushmita. From electrical department, Lignesh. From liberal arts department, Shikha Soni. Next slide. From liberal arts department, Rakesh Pradhan. From material science and metallurgical engineering, Vijay Singh Yadav. From material science and metallurgical engineering, Kakatparu Madhuri. Next slide, please. From mathematics department, Ranjan Bera. From mechanical engineering, Vatsal Sharma. Mechanical Engineering, Ravi Onkar. Next slide, please. From Physics Department, Chinmay Vishwas. From Physics Department. Next slide, please. So now we are having Research Excellence Award for UG and PG students. Next slide, please. So we encourage lots of research to the UG and PG level also. So we are trying to acknowledge all of them based on the department recommendation. This is the endowment award from Kafil Nazafi and Sajal Singh UG Research Excellent Award from Department of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering. Kuppa Venkata. Next slide, please. Now for UG and PG students. From AI department, Muralidhar from AI department, from biomedical department, PV Anjali, Angeline, and then civil engineering, Amal Devi. Next slide, please. Now civil engineering, Anjali from computer science, Punit Mangal. Please. From mechanical engineering, from physics, Havish from engineering physics, Gautam. Next slide, please. Thank you, Mudrika.
Thank you, Professor Satoshi. While students are the pillar for our existence, we also encourage excellence in teaching and excellence in research by the faculty, as well as institute cannot function without excellence in administration. So I request Professor Raja Banerjee, who is the acting Dean Faculty as well as Dean Administration, to announce the awards, please.
Thank you, Mudrika. I'm very happy to announce the Faculty Excellence Awards for the year 2021. We'll first start with the Faculty Teaching Excellence Award. Next slide, please.
Dr. Banerjee, may I interrupt?
Yeah, please.
If you don't mind, Dr. Mudrika, Director and Chairman, can you please excuse me? I have a meeting at 2 p.m. I really enjoyed interacting with you, and I look forward to coming again to IIT Hyderabad in person.
Please, sir, we look forward to your next visit. Okay, at the earliest. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me continue with the announcements. First we have Dr. Amrita Datta, Assistant Professor from the Department of Liberal Arts. Next slide, please. Dr. Neeraj Kumar, Assistant Professor from the Department of Mathematics. Next slide. Dr. Venku Naidu Doga, Associate Professor from the Department of Mathematics. Dr. V. Sheshadri Saravan Kumar, Assistant Professor from the Department of Electrical Engineering. Dr. Dipankar Ghosh, Assistant Professor from the Department of Mathematics. Dr. Sai Ramakrishna Maladi, Assistant Professor from the Department of Material Science and Metallurgical Engineering. Dr. Tarun Kanti Panda, Professor from the Department of Chemistry. Dr. Surya Prakash, Professor from the Department of Civil Engineering. Dr. C. Krishna Mohan, Professor from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Balasubramanian, Associate Professor from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Dr. Vaska Sarkar, Associate Professor from the Department of Electrical Engineering. Dr. Balasubramanian Jairam, Professor from the Department of Mathematics. Now, I'll go to the Faculty Research Excellence Award. Dr. Amit Acharya, Associate Professor from the Department of Electrical Engineering. Dr. Arvind Kumar Rengan, Assistant Professor from the Department of Biomedical Engineering. Dr. Mudrika Khandelwal, Assistant Professor from the Department of Material Science and Metallurgical Engineering. Dr. C.H. Subramaniam, Professor from the Department of Chemistry. Dr. V. Kanchana, Professor from the Department of Physics. Dr. Kirti Chandra Sahu, Professor from the Department of Chemical Engineering. My hearty congratulations to all the recipients of the Faculty Excellence Awards. Now, I'm happy to announce the Staff Excellence Awards. So from level 1 to level 5, we have Ms. Guntur Vimala, multi-skill assistant, grade 2, hostel section. Mr. Manche V. Srinivas, junior technician, Department of Material Science and Metallurgical Engineering. Between levels 6 and level 8, we have Mr. Vijay Chakravarti, technical superintendent from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. And Mr. Mohsin Mohammed, section officer from the hostel section. Congratulations to all the recipients. Thank you. Over to you, Mudrika.
Once again,
Professor
congratulations
Raja.
to everyone. Yes, Mudrika. Mudrika, to you too.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So we are coming towards the end of today's celebration. I thank you all for being part of this celebration today on the virtual platform, as well as those viewing on YouTube. In particular, I would like to extend heartfelt gratitude to Professor Vijay Raghavan for being here with us and energizing us. Of course, he had to leave because he had a meeting. I also want to congratulate all the awardees. We hereby close the 13th Foundation Day. Let us all stand for the national anthem.
Thank you, Mohan Reddy.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Murthy.
sir.